The NVIDIA stock example is prominent. Paul Pelosi buys stock, then Congress, led by Nancy, passes legislation that helps NVIDIA's price soar.
And people notice this.
Enough that the source mentions a stock trading app was created just to track Paul Pelosi's trades. Nancy Pelosi's response, that she has no knowledge and his trades are marked SP for spouse, is called absurd by the source.
What about the Visa IPO?
This was back in 2008. IPO means initial public offering. The source alleges the Pelosis got into Visa's IPO on March 18th, a day before it went public on the 9th.
Is that unusual?
Getting in early on a hot IPO can be very advantageous. Their investment reportedly doubled in just a week.
And the source connects this to legislation.
Yes. It brings up the Credit Card Fair Fee Act of 2008. This bill apparently has strong support and would have significantly hurt Visa. Pelosi, as Speaker, allegedly killed the bill. The source claims it never even got a hearing on the House floor, implying a quid pro quo favorable stock access in exchange for killing the bill. It claims they participated in maybe 8 to 10 unusually profitable IPOs while she was Speaker.
Wow. The allegations extend to real estate, too.
The source describes a strategy: buy cheap property in rundown parts of San Francisco. Then, Nancy Pelosi allegedly slips in an earmark that's directing federal tax money to a specific project.
To develop the area around her property.
That's the claim. Using federal funds for development, which then increases the value of her own property.
There's also a light rail project mentioned.
Yeah, in San Francisco. The source alleges Pelosi channeled over $1 billion federal tax dollars into this project, and it claims the project primarily benefited Salesforce, run by Mark Benioff.
And the Pelosi connection.
Paul Pelosi was heavily invested in Salesforce, according to the source. And here's the kicker detail. The light rail's route just happens to stop at an office building owned by the Pelosi, described as a lucrative part of the Pelosi network.
Okay, so a pattern of alleged self-dealing. What about other family member? Her son?
Paul Pelosi Jr., yes. In 2014, a company he founded focused on green businesses was investigated by the SEC for fraud.
Yeah.
4 employees were charged, but Paul Jr., the founder, mysteriously avoided arrest, as the source put it.
And finally, the source speculates on how she maintains power within her own party.
It suggests she uses mafia tactics for whipping the vote, getting Democrats to vote her way. The speculation is she might have a little dirt on each member of Congress.
So a really wide-ranging set of allegations presented by these sources, painting a picture of long-term systemic corruption and manipulation.
That is absolutely the narrative presented in this part of the source material. Very detailed, very critical.
Okay, let's shift to the final major theme from these sources. The border wall debates, specifically a meeting involving Trump, Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer.
Right. The source focuses on a particular public meeting about government funding and the border wall, contrasting the styles and tactics.
How does it describe Pelosi and Schumer in that meeting?
It portrays them quite negative. Pelosi's claim that most people crossing illegally are women and children is called disingenuous.
And Schumer.
His accusation that Trump stokes fears and hatred is countered. The source argues Trump's points about MS-13, potential terrorists, diseases, these are legitimate concerns, not just manufactured.
So the source defends Trump's frame.
It does. It also describes Pelosi and Schumer visually, saying they looked like robots or
NPCs, like non-player characters in a video game.
Exactly, implying they lacked genuine reaction, were sort of programmed. The source also claims they were reluctant to have the debate publicly, suggesting they prefer less transparency, and that they were mainly afraid of getting blamed for a government shutdown.
Okay, so that's the portrayal of Pelosi and Schumer. How does the source describe Trump's approach in contrast?
It highlights several moments. Trump's comment about the wall being the easiest thing to fund is called a jovial remark. Schumer's reply, it's called funding the government, is termed a snarky remark. The source notes Trump laughed at his own joke, not Schumer's retort.
What else?
It points to Trump asking Pelosi, Nancy, would you like to say something? Calling it graciousness towards an enemy, forcing her to either be gracious back or look like a hole.
Framing it as a strategic move.
Yes. And Trump's desire for the debate to be public is presented as a positive, a preference for transparency.
Did the source discuss Trump's arguments for the wall itself?
It did. It mentions him citing statistics, places like San Diego, El Paso, Tucson, Yuma, seeing huge drops, 92-96% in illegal crossings after barriers went up. He used analogies, too, like Israel's wall being 99.9% effective, or prison walls.
Does the source verify those stats?
It acknowledges Trump's stats might be skewed, but it supports the general concept that walls can be effective. It also defends Trump's tendency to exaggerates certain threats, drugs, disease, terrorists, arguing it's a way to emphasize the importance of border security, which the source deems a valid concern with serious problems linked to illegal immigration.
And then there was the shutdown comment.
Right, Trump's declaration. I am proud to shut down the government for border security. The source frames this as the ultimate move. He takes full responsibility, takes the mantle for the shutdown.
How does the source interpret that?
As heroic, an act of sacrifice that made Schumer, who was seen as trying to avoid blame, look like an idiot.
So, the overall description in the meeting.
The source calls it a beautiful meeting that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer were not expecting, a trick by Trump to force transparency, catch them off guard, embarrass them. It concludes they were completely caught off guard and
It's a very specific interpretation of that political theater, presenting Trump as the master strategist controlling the situation.
Definitely. It fits the overall perspective of these sources, showcasing political conflict through a lens highly critical of Pelosi and Democrats, and often favorable or at least understanding of Trump's tactic.
Well, we have certainly covered a lot of ground today, drawn from these specific Mr. Reagan video transcript. Quite a journey.
It really has been. From those satirical deep thoughts trying to capture a political persona.
Right, to the whole cloak and dagger story of the missing laptop and the FBI searches.
And then the deep dive into the allegations about the family history, the financial dealings, the crime family narrative.
And finishing with that analysis of the border wall debate, focusing on political styles and strategy.
These sources, they're varied in tone, some satirical, some presenting detailed accusations, but together they paint this really complex, multi-layered, and frankly, deeply controversial picture of Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, it's a very distinct perspective, certainly critical, focusing on her power, her alleged cunning, the controversies surrounding her and her family, and the political environment she navigated.
It definitely offers you, the listener, a clear view into how this particular set of sources constructs its arguments and portrays a major political figure.
So, reflecting on all this, on the sheer volume and the intricate detail of the claims presented in these sources, it really makes you think, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, regardless of the validity of any specific claim, what does it actually take for someone to reach and maintain such a prominent, powerful position for so long, especially in today's hyper-scrutinized political world? And maybe more importantly, what does the existence of narratives like these tell us about how power, accountability, and public perception work or don't work in our politics today?
Something to mull over.